Thank you very much, Alton, and good morning, everyone, and welcome to ETSI. What I will be covering today in about 15 minutes or so is what's happening currently in 3GPP and what is foreseen as being the roadmap towards 6G. So before jumping into what 3GPP and when 3GPP will be working in 6G, let me just state where we are today and what have been done already for 5G. 5G started in release 15 and we finished and froze release 18 this year, so we already finished 4 releases. Release 15 was mainly focused on EMBB, that's one of the 3 use cases defined by the ITUR. Release 16 came to finish that triangle by providing the support to ERLC and enhanced mobile MTC. And both of these 2 releases were what was submitted to the ITU as the IMT 2020 3GPP solution. And these are up to now the basis for most of the deployments that we are seeing worldwide. GSA reported about 330 mobile operators launching services around the world. But most of these are, unfortunately, or for different reasons, are non-standalone. We only have about 65 networks which are standalone. So we are yet to see the full extent of 5G and 5G Advanced. Release 17 came to start introducing some enhancements to the 3 cases that we covered already, but also by supporting more verticals. So we saw the integration of non-terrestrial networks with the terrestrial ones, and also cases like the read cap. Release 18 was the first release marketed as 5G Advanced, and here we start already taking a step toward the full potential that 5G has been promising. And we basically were focusing on bringing more use cases, more verticals, but also enhancing the mobile experience that is offered by previous releases. Today we are working on release 19, and before getting into a little bit of detail of what is release 19 trying to do, just in terms of timeline, as you know, 3GPP works on releases, but within the same release there are also stages. Stage 1 being the focus on user requirements. Stage 2 on architecture and aspect like security, media, etc. And then stage 3 being focusing on the details of the protocols. So stage 1 have already concluded in December last year. We will be declaring stage 2 freeze next month in Madrid. There may be a few exceptions, but the most of the work in stage 2 architecture will be finished next month in the plenary in December. And the plan is that the full release will be frozen, functional freeze in September, but the code freeze in December 2025. And I have been talking about achieving the full potential of 5G and 5G Advanced, and that this is also what release 19 is still doing, is bringing more enhancement to the mobile experience, covering a new areas and new verticals, enabling advanced deployments and enhancing the performance in general. So this one from one side, and addressing urgent and real commercial needs. From the other side, 5G is also being considered as building a bridge toward 6G. And we start looking at some subjects that we expect will be fully developed and fully used and exploited when the 6G comes. One of these is ISAC, the Integrated Sensing and Communications, which is one of the foreseen use cases of 6G. In release 19, we are at this stage looking only at the channel model for this use case. But we have also some work going in EIML that started as a study in release 19, but we have some work items in release 19. And we are considering also some bands that are foreseen to be used for 6G, like the mid-bands. So this is where we are today. Looking at the future, release 20. Release 20 will be the release where we will start really talking about 6G and 3GPP. The release 20 will have two separate components, two parts. One, continuing the work on 5G advanced, and the other component or part will be dedicated to studies in 6G. So in release 20, we are not yet at the normative work, but we will be already starting the studies for 6G. In terms of timeline, as this is the subject of the title for the presentation, first on the 5G advanced. Again, stage 1 has already started working and looking at the requirements for release 20. But the work on stage 2 is expected to only start in June next year and to conclude maybe in September 2026. For RAN and stage 3, the works will start a bit later, and the expected freeze, functional freeze, is June 2027, and for code, open APIs and ASN.1, that would be September 2027. Now, get into the 6G timeline, and the work plan we will undergo in 3GPP first, and this is in the past, which is the stage 1 workshop on IMT 2030 use cases, and they will have a few slides on the outcome from that workshop. Then we will be having the 3GPP TSG-wide workshop, so that's planned on March next year, together with the plenary that will be taking place in Korea. That will trigger, as I mentioned, the study work in release 20, and then what is foreseen to be the release for the normative work is release 21. So in the workshop that took place last May, this workshop was actually not directed to the 3GPP members. It was open to, we have here, for example, the market representations representing the operators, GSMA and NGMN. We have other MRPs or market representations that represent other sectors like industry, satellites, critical communications. The third category was open to research initiatives from different parts of the world, so Europe, US, but also different countries from Asia. And finally, we had also presentation from the ITU. In the following slides, we will see some of the outcomes and the drivers that are foreseen for 6G. But before I get there, I want to make a very important disclaimer that this list is in no way exhaustive. This has been derived on a purely analytic, looking at the presentations and the keywords that were used most often in those presentations. And it does not indicate any priority on how the work will be handled in 3GPP. The workshop in March will be more indicative onto what directions 3GPP will be taking towards 6G. So in terms of foreseen drivers, without any surprise, security comes as one important driver, both from a network security, but also from data confidentiality for the users. So we continue to looking for robust security, and especially in critical times of crisis. We are looking also at some possible, or will be looking at some possible new threat factors for 6G, and it's seen that, for example, quantum would be one of the sources of such threats. So we'll be looking at quantum safe security mechanisms. Second one, and also I think it's no surprise to anyone here if we say EI, as one of the main drivers. And again, what came out of the discussions in 3GPP workshop is that there are two aspects that will be looked at. One is how to use EI to improve the performance and to run and maintain the network, but also how to make sure that our network supports EI applications. Immersive communications, so in different use cases, so we are talking about entertainment, but also in industrial and training applications, for example. Sustainability, we are looking at energy-saving mechanisms, how the network can be run most efficiently when it comes to energy consumption, but also other aspects like circular economy and zero waste approaches to how we develop our solutions. The other driver is ubiquitous and resilient coverage. So this with security, I think, would form what I would call as having trust on the network. And this is becoming a more and more important aspect that users are looking for. So we have applications like critical communications, public safety, or even for industrial. You want that when you are using a network, that it is fully secure, but you want also to have the coverage, meaning that wherever you go, you have coverage of your network. And finally, if anything's happening, if there is a disaster, then the network recovers relatively quickly and efficiently. Sensing being the other driving, I mentioned this, that some work already started in 3GPP, but we will see more work happening in 6G about the integration of sensing with communications. And then we have other drivers. I will not go into the details of them, but we are talking about smart everything. That was already a word in 5G, but it is becoming even more. So smart homes, smart cities, smart agriculture, smart factories, etc. Now, in terms of timeline for the 6G, I already mentioned, you have the line here for where we are today. The first important milestone would be the workshop in March in Korea. That's RAN and SA workshops that will start looking at technological aspects of 6G beyond the use cases. And that will trigger actually the studies. In terms of when that would be finished, it's still a little bit not fully clear. So we have, for example, for the stage 2, we have an or there because it may be December or March, and we have a little cloud around the stage 3. Wherever you see a cloud in these slides means like we are not clear and sure yet about the date. And then in the bottom, we have the ITU timeline, so just that we can see where 3GPP fits in terms of timeline of what have been defined by the ITUR. And as I said, release 21 will be the release where we will have the normative work. The exact timeline has not been yet decided. But it is expected that it will last for 21 months, and that this timeline will be decided no later than June 2026, so before the release 20 is finished. So we are not yet very clear on when exactly this will finish, but we know that we will not deliver the specs with the code freeze before or earlier than March 2029. So it will happen after March 2029, the code freeze and the first specifications, normative specifications. And one another aspect which is quite different from what we have done in 5G is that release 21 is expected, and those who have been in 3GPP know that what a single drop or multi-drop means, but it's basically several freezes and several versions of the spec of the same release delivered at 2 points of time. And that has been seen as one of the lessons to learn from 5G. So we are foreseeing that in release 21, normative release of 6G, there will be a single drop. And with that, I stop here on terms of timeline, and thank you for your attention.